Guys, I am so honoured to be sharing the stage with Cheryl today. So, Mrs. Cheryl Sharp has an incredible story that we're going to dig into today. But the things you need to know for now, she runs a firm, Pink Pig Financials, has 7 members of staff plus herself, but has completely extracted herself from the day-to-day running of the firm. Client work, every single thing that most accounting and bookkeeping practices struggle to get out of, this woman has completely got herself out of those things. So I'm going to be grilling Cheryl on everything to do with why, how, and just some objection handling of the kind of objections we often hear when people hear these stories. So let's kick us off with, what was the pain you were feeling a couple of years ago that said, that said, I need to get myself out of the firm? Like, how were you feeling? What position were you in?
Yeah, so it was a mixture of things, really. So first of all, I had other things I wanted to do. I wanted to focus on running the business. I had all these ideas, but because I was doing a lot of the client work still, I didn't have time to do all of that, which I'm sure is something familiar to many of us. So I really wanted to step back and do that. And I think also for the team, I was still getting involved in things. I was probably being the bottleneck, stopping them from doing what they wanted to do, and didn't really give them the chance to shine and do all the things that they wanted to do. So I think it was a both me and them type thing.
And at home?
And at home, yeah, I was working far too many hours, like many of us. I was literally working from the second I got up to when I went to bed. I didn't really see a lot of the children or my husband, and even weekends I was working, and I was absolutely exhausted and fed up of it. And I think a lot of us actually have that feeling as well.
So you knew something needed to change?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And there was bits of the work that you weren't actually enjoying as well?
No, I'll be honest, I do enjoy getting everything correct and perfect and all of that. I do get a little bit of a buzz out of it, and I love speaking to clients. That is one of the things that I really enjoy doing. But just the day-to-day mundane, doing things, didn't light me up. I was getting bored and, yeah, just really frustrated that was getting in the way of doing all the stuff that I really wanted to do.
So where on earth did you start?
So, first of all, I knew I had a couple of team, obviously, so I knew I'd already delegated some stuff to them, and I knew I needed to get rid of more, but I didn't really know where to go. So the first thing I did was literally took, over a 2-week period, I wrote down in a spreadsheet, obviously, every single thing that I did on a day-to-day basis. Literally everything, even from going in and saying, right, well, I did this bank rec, I did that bank rec, just so I could understand exactly everything I was doing. And then from there, I looked at, right, well, who could do those jobs? And then I put them out into jobs of, right, well, this would be an admin job, this would be a bookkeeping job, this would be an accountant job, and things like that. So I could actually see, right, what is missing in my practice? What do I need? Where can I hand it over to? So I did that. And then I also looked at what I enjoyed doing and what I wanted to keep for myself, because at that point, I still had, I suppose, a bit of imposter syndrome, thinking I can't hand this over. Who am I to be handing all this over to other people? But also, I didn't feel that I should or I could, because I was then putting more on other people and just felt guilty about that. So I did look and take a really hard look at, right, what do I actually want to be doing myself still? So that was another thing that I did as well. And then I could work out exactly who I needed. And it was pretty clear that one of the big jobs was admin. And admin is what I initially trained in. So I was like, well, I can do admin myself. It's not hard, it's not difficult. I can do these things. A lot of them we'd automated through our practice management software. So I was like, well, it doesn't take me long to do these things. But actually looking at them on that spreadsheet and seeing how many of them and how much of my time was spent doing admin, I was like, right, clearly I need an admin person. So that was the next goal, to get the admin person. And that's probably one of the best roles I've ever hired.
What member of staff number was that?
She was number 4.
So everyone would love an admin person in every single business ever, but usually it's, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
How did you make sure you could afford it?
Well, I knew, first of all, and I mean, a lot of people say this, but I knew, first of all, that freeing my time up for her to do that sort of work would mean that I can do more profitable work, more fee earning work and things like that. So I had to get my head around that bit first, because everyone says it and it all sounds so easy, but actually doing it and believing it is a totally different ballgame. But once I'd got my head around that, the next thing was, right, well, how much would their salary be? How much do we need to bring in more to pay for them? So that was my next goal, basically. So that was what I thought, right, well, can't remember exactly how much it was there, but it was like this amount of money, so let's get this X amount of clients in to pay for them. And then as soon as we got there, that was it, she was hired.
Or repricing existing clients as well.
A little bit of that, yeah.
So you've not got too much more work. And that's really important. We kind of touched on it yesterday as well when we were talking about how it seems like such a simple thing, but how many of you, business owners, leaders, wherever it means, team, actually have a really accurate job description of every single thing that you do day to day. And it seems so simple, but just by having that, getting it out of your brain, and then coding red, amber, green is just so important. And then you can start to say, right, the reds, how do I bring in the right person? So how did you know who you needed to bring in next? Like how did you decide what people you need to bring in?
So it was just a case of where I'd earmarked, right, this role can be done, or this task can be done by this role can be done by that role. And then I was looking at the team, their capacity, who could take more on and everything. And then we knew, right, well, we need an extra bookkeeper, or we need an extra accountant, and just taking it from there.
And how did you know who was the right person for something? Because some of the work that's maybe admin, easier to delegate. Pricing and selling your services, not so easy. How did you know who was going to do that?
Well, I knew I wanted everyone to do the pricing, because I don't think it's just a one person job. So the natural fit was the bookkeepers do like the quarterly repricing, so they look at the transaction volume every quarter and they up that for us. And then I delegated the renewal meetings to our accountants. And they took over all the renewal meetings and doing all the pricing for them. And it actually meant that not only was they doing that job, but they was then actually spending more time with the clients, and they was building the relationship with the clients as well, getting to know the clients, getting to understand them, their businesses, and just building that bond with the clients. So then the clients didn't want me anymore, they wanted the team member, which was brilliant, because then I didn't feel guilty saying, oh, you really need to speak to so-and-so, I can't do this kind of thing, because that naturally happened.
And you used a profiling tool as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so what we also did was, as part of our culture work, is we all did a DISC assessment, so we could actually understand whose personality was what, so we could understand, right, well, they'll be good at this, they'll be good at that, but also it helped me to understand how to speak to them better and how to encourage them to do the work, things that they don't want to do. I knew how to speak to them in the right way that they needed to hear it, rather than just how I say it to them, which meant that it didn't feel like I was ordering them to do something, I was encouraging them to do it. So that kind of made things a lot nicer for everyone, I suppose.
Yeah. And what about when it comes to marketing and video with your team of accountants, bookkeepers, admin?
Yeah, so we've been blogging for a long time, and when videos come in, I was like, well, I can't ask the team, I'll just do it. So again, I was doing it all, but then we kind of the more work we did marketing, the more we understood it, the more the team got involved, and especially with Maddie coming on board of admin and operations, she got an interest in it as well. So we started then saying, right, well, everybody needs to do a blog. So we took it in turns, one a week. So as the team's grown, obviously that means they have to do it less often, which they prefer. But it just means that all the team get involved. They all get to show their skills, their personalities. It basically gets our clients to know them more than us, or than me, sorry. And it also helps to build their confidence as well. And then I was like, right, we're all blogging now, so now it's the time that everyone has to start doing videos. And the usual, I'm not doing that. And I was like, well, yeah, we're all doing it. We're all taking a turn. And so knowing how to speak to people It was a case of, right, well, I know what your personality is. I know them quite well anyway. And it was a case of like, right, well, how can I help you to do this? Rather than just saying, right, you're doing this, get on with it. It was a case of, right, this is what I want you to do. This is why. And I explained to them that we're trying to build up their profiles and build that relationship up with clients and prospects and things and show them off because they're the ones doing the work. So yeah, I asked them what they needed from me to help. And one of them, who I never ever thought would actually get on to doing videos, I started off with her like doing an interview style similar to this, and I would sit there on Zoom and I'd just say to her, right, so I can't remember what the first one was all about, but it was something technical. So I just asked her the question, so how do you do this, or what's this for? And she'd answer it. And that was it. That was a video. We put it all together, job done, and it was out there. So we did that a couple of times. And then she got the confidence to do it herself. So then she started doing them herself. And then we started doing some other videos as well called The Short Answer, which were just short 60-second reels on Instagram to go with the blogs and advertise them and everything. And we told the girls what we wanted to do, and she was actually the first person to do one. So that was a huge win.
Yeah, that's crazy. Have you ever had any like real resistance? Like, this is not my job, I'm an accountant.
That was from her. And I think sometimes they do look at me and just go, this is not what I signed up for. But that's more the couple in the team that are a bit older, maybe, that have been with me a little bit longer, that are not used to that sort of thing. And think, but now, the way we hire now, everyone has to apply with a video, so they know from day one, videos, blogs, it's all part of their role.
Someone else said they did that on a talk I did earlier, Sam Mitchum, because she expects her team to be that person on social media as well, and so she'll put that into a hiring process, almost just for fair expectation.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think also when we have had resistance, I've actually shown them what the benefit is to them and to the business. And we regularly now on our inquiries, we've got a question saying, how did you hear about us? And people quite often reference either blogs or our videos, and every time they do, we've got a wins channel on Slack, and we'll post in there, this person has come to us because of so and so's video, so they all can see that their video has had that impact. And I think that really does then spur them on and go, oh, it's not something stupid that she's asked me to do, it's beneficial to the business, it's beneficial to me, and it is growing them. At the end of the day, they're growing themselves as people.
Yeah, I've got two things written down that we spoke about before that are so useful, that are very practical. And the first one is documenting processes. So people, we talk about it all the time, you'll have heard a million and one times, systems, processes, you've got to document them. But in your firm, like, what does that actually look like? How do you document them? Where do you put them? How do you write them? Who owns them? How do you make sure everything is documented? Talk us through that.
Yeah, so first of all, obviously, I had to do them all. And I, as an accountant, you don't want to sit there writing. So we discovered Loom quite a few years ago, but we did it in a different capacity, like training videos and things like that. And I suddenly was like, well, hold on a minute, if we're doing that for training videos for clients, why can't we do it for training videos for us? So that started our journey, and we started, mostly me at the beginning, and I would literally, as I did a task, I would record myself doing it, and I'd be talking to myself, and I'd probably sound really stupid, but I didn't care because I knew that I was getting the work done and also documenting at the same time, which meant that it was there then for the client, for the team to learn from and to train them. So then I physically didn't have to train them, which, being a remote team, is really hard because you're not in an office with somebody. So them to have them videos, first of all, in their training plan to learn in the first place, and then refer back to, is really, it's really important for us because they can't get hold of us all the time.
And my type A organised brain is seeing the dots connected as well with the job description, linking out to a process of every single thing, and it almost becomes really scientific of, this is not emotional, removing tasks. You can make it very, this is the task, this is the process, you now own it, and here's the training manual, and we'll support you through it. Yeah,
and then what we've also got in our practice management system is in the notes for the tasks, the video link is in there. So if they're doing the task and they've forgotten how to do it, or they can't find the video, it's right there, so it's easy for them to access.
And what would you say to anyone in the audience who's sat there thinking, that sounds great, but I've got so much work to do, I've not got time?
You're going to be doing the work, so while you're doing the work, you record the video.
Great. And then the second thing that I wrote down was how, in order for your team to perform really well with these things, you have to treat them. In order to expect them to act like business owners, you have to treat them with as much respect as you would a co-founder or a business owner. And part of that is how transparent you are with them. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so when I first started employing, I had never had any management training. The only experience I had was the managers managing me, and most of them were not my sort of person. So I just was like, initially, do the opposite of what they did. And I just would treat my team how I would want to be treated myself. So from day one, they had the flexibility. They could work where they wanted, how they wanted, when they wanted. They didn't have to ask permission. And I think to do school plays and things like that. So I think that really helped initially build that two-way trust, transparency and everything. And then from there, it's a case of I've been, I wouldn't say pushing, but encouraging them to do more, to get involved more, to deal with the marketing, to speak to our marketing team and things like that. So I'd always give them permission. I'd always say to them as well, if you've got any ideas, bring them to me, let's work on them and everything. And it's got to the stage now where the girls will do things, I don't even know about it. They just talk amongst themselves. But our biggest win would be recently, because we haven't done sole trader work for years, but I think it was after XeroCon last year, Ellie came up to me and she said, I'd really like to do a sole trader and offering. I really like the look of this Zero Go. What can we do? And I said to her, well, if it's something you want to do, flesh it all out, get some ideas, put it all together and come back to me. And she did, and she come back to me with how she wanted to do it, what she wanted to do. It all fitted with our values and what we was trying to achieve as a practice. So I was like, right, okay, go on then, go and do it. So I said, I'm here if you need me, if you need any help, if you want to run through anything, or if you just want to bounce ideas off. But other than that, this is your project. I'd love to see you go out and do it. And she did. So she dealt with the marketing team, put the website together, or the web page together. She's put all the pricing together. She's put it all into co-proposal. She even did a webinar, which she set up and she marketed and she ran and just hosted herself. I was there in the background, just in case she needed me, but she didn't need me. But I think it was more of a support thing for her. And yeah, just let her run with it. And I've said to all the girls, if you want to do that or something similar, then just talk to me and we'll do it. And I think because we've got that two-way communication, everyone's throwing ideas up. And I've also said, if you've got ideas but you don't feel confident or you don't want to do it yourself, then throw it out and somebody else will want to do it, or I can do it. So I'm allowing them to do what they feel comfortable with, but also trying to encourage them to do it themselves.
Incredible leadership. I'm going to open up the floor to questions because we've got about just over 10 minutes, but I can hear brains whirring, thinking things like, but how do you get a team of accountants or bookkeepers to do those things? So questions.
As business owners, we're always wanting to control everything. So how did you overcome that to let go? Yeah, go and do that work for that client.
So it's been a gradual process and it was not easy at the beginning. I think one of the good things I did, which actually I forgot to say earlier, was so when Maddie came on board to look after all the admin, she started looking after my emails. I hate email. I'll be honest, I hate it. If I didn't have to go into my inbox ever again, I'd be very happy. So I let her look at it, and obviously that took time for her to work out what I needed to see, what I didn't. But what she does is she then, when the client email comes in asking me to do something, she farms it straight out to the team member. So 9 times out of 10, I don't even know it's happened. So A, she's doing it for me, but B, I then don't feel guilty asking other people, because I think that's half the thing as well, is we want to do it ourselves. We also don't want to put the burden on others. So her doing that has taken that burden away from me, but it's also then helped me to let go, because, yeah, I know what I'm like. When she's off, it's a nightmare. I'm going to have to find somebody else to help, because I know what I'm like and I do start doing all the things. But, yeah.
Oh, can you hear me? Oh,
Yep.
What does your firm look like? So you're all fully virtual.
Yep.
And so what's the team made up of, and like how many of you are there, and are they full-time, are they subcontractors, are they employees, what's it look like?
Yeah. So obviously there's me. So Maddie is operations and admin now. Well, she's operations manager now. She's part-time. We've got Ellie, 4 bookkeepers. Only one of them is full-time, the rest are all part-time. One of them actually travels a lot, makes us all jealous. And if anyone watches our socials, you'll see the amazing places she goes to. And then we've got 2 accountants, 1 full-time, 1 part-time. Yeah, no client work is done by subcontractors. But we've got marketing and things like that outsourced.
Hey, when you're doing all the work and involved in it all, you know exactly what's happening. So when you started delegating more to the team and pushing it down, did you put more kind of monitoring metrics or KPIs in place so you could get that comfort that it was all working as you'd want it to?
Yeah, so I can't remember if it's the end of last year, beginning this year, we put like a senior leadership team in place so that they could monitor more and then they can come back to me, so that I wasn't having to monitor everybody, because although it's only a small team, it feels a lot when they all want you. Oh, you need to check everything. So we put that in place and we put all the KPIs in place. So it's their job to manage the KPIs and make sure they're doing everything. And then I just catch up with them now and again to find out and make sure that everything's going. But usually, even though I'm really out of it now, and I quite often say to my coach, I have no idea what's going on and it freaks me out, and I have a moment and then she has to pull me back in. It does get a lot easier not knowing what's going on. Like this week, I have no idea what's going on. I've not brought my laptop. I've not even spoken to them on Slack, really, or anything. So I've had a whole week almost out of the office to do this sort of thing.
What's in those KPIs?
So at the moment we haven't got any financial KPIs for the team because it was all new to them, so I didn't want to put too much pressure. So it's more a case of like our metrics. So VAT returns have got to be out by 14 days after quarter, accounts have got to be done by 3 months after year end, and just things like that, really.
Any more questions, guys? We've got about 5 minutes left. Thank you.
So what does your role look like now, and roughly how long do you spend doing your role within the business?
Yeah, so I now work officially 4 days a week. I still do proposal meetings and meeting clients initially, but that is on the plan to hand over as well by the end of the year. Do still do a little bit of reviewing because my senior needs somebody more senior to review. But the plan is, as we grow, she will not be doing the work anymore, so she'll be reviewing the other accountants. And managing the team, obviously. Marketing, although to be fair, a lot of the marketing now, the team look after themselves. I don't even attend the meetings anymore. So it's given me time to focus on putting like new services in place, new projects, new business ideas, and I do like mentoring and things like that.
And you said once on the call, and you won't mind me saying this, is it once you were a bit struggling, you're like, I don't actually know what am I doing, what I'm supposed to be doing?
No, I did. I had a complete and utter meltdown. I think this was fairly early on when I realised actually I'm not doing anything anymore, and I was just like, what is my role? And I had a complete meltdown, and I had a full-on session with my coach trying to work it all out. And it was just a case of, she said, well, you know what you do. So even now I go back to that spreadsheet and I go, right, well, this is what I'm doing. So every time I do have one of them moments, or every time I think, right, I've seemed to be doing a lot more again now, I go back to that spreadsheet and it's normally newer things that I'm doing. And then I'm working out, wow, that can go to that person, that can go to that person. Oh, we need a new person in to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Given that you've obviously got a remote working model, how did the early state, you said that you've got a tool that pushes out the tasks to different members of your team, whether your admin does that or whether you do that. Can you just tell us a little bit about when you first rolled that out and what resistance you got? Because I think I'm standing at the bottom of that precipice and I'd just like to get some guidance.
Yeah, so we've been using a practice management system from pretty much day one. various different ones, and we're about to change again. So I think having that practice management system, Pixie, we're going to. So yeah, using that, is kind of then where we've got all the workflows and where we've got it set up. It's just been their job from day one. But I guess my advice would be look at the workflow, what can be done with who, and set all the workflow up, and just be completely and utterly transparent with your team. Say, right, this is the workflow, this is what's going to be done by who, and then put that in place and just get on with it. But just keep talking to them and making sure they're happy and that they understand what their role is, what they're meant to be doing, and things like that. Does that help?
I think from experience as well of leading a team, one of the biggest things you can give them that will enable them to think more like a business owner and act and understand why you're giving them something is to be so transparent. And I think quite often as business owners you take on the entire burden, and of course it's your company and you're the one that gets paid to do the big jobs. But once you open up and be vulnerable about struggles, they'll immediately respect you more and come on that journey with you. And I've seen so many bosses in the past being like, let's create this facade of we're doing well and keep them motivated. And actually it's the opposite. If you opened up that struggle of, I can't quite feel this, exactly what you just said, exactly the question you just asked then, put it to the team and see what they've got, how they'd respond to being told to do certain things.
Yeah, we do annual team days. So we are remote, so we're not together very often in person, or we have like weekly Zoom team meetings and things. So once a year we all do get together, and that's our time to really focus on what we're doing for the year, what the plan is, what do we want to bring to the table. And that's where I also very vulnerable and explain exactly where I am, what I'm trying to do, why I need them on board with things. And it's a two-way conversation, and that is so helpful. And just being open and transparent, even about things that you probably wouldn't want to be telling your team, just helps them to understand what's going in your head.
Got time for one more question.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to ask about growing and the cash flow in your own business. How was it? Was it a bit lumpy? Was it a bit stressful? Have you always had good cash flow? Did you have to take any borrowing? And I don't know if you want to answer that as well. Your drawings as well, are your drawings where you want them to be, or has been a struggle at times to take the right amount of drawings you've wanted?
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. I remember my first team member, I dropped my earnings down so that I could afford to bring them on because I knew that I needed to. And also we got an office at the time when I did have an office, so there was a lot of extra bills at that point. And it has gone up and down throughout the years. The last couple that we recruited, I did get a loan for that, some working capital loan, because we had a couple of things going on in the business at the time where I just did not have the cash available. And where I am the sole earner from me and my family, I have to keep now a steady level of income. I can't drop below a certain amount. So we often tell our clients that actually getting loans in is good because it's helping them to grow. So for once I took my own advice and I did take a loan at that point. But yeah, it could be better, as with everyone, but having the majority of our clients on direct debit, monthly repeating, has really helped me to maintain a steady cash flow.
Great. Give it up for Cheryl, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.